Psychological cues are far more complex than seeing someone cry or smile. They require you to read between the lines, to understand how someone's mind functions. Psychological cues are used in everyday life, whether you realize it or not, and they are essential to how you live, whether it decides that you get the job or not. Psychological cues are essential to understanding how someone feels, their thought process, and what is the best way to connect with them. According to various researchers and authors of the book Psychology, they have made a clear indication and depiction of the effects and signs of both external and internal cues. These are identified as interpersonal and intrapersonal cues in the book. Now, there are many examples of both internal and external cues. Although it is much easier to identify external cues, you can use them to better understand how someone thinks. To begin, I'll go over hand gestures, verbal gestures, and body language, which are all classified as external cues. Moreover, I'll go over the different types of internal cues, such as presentation, your attitude, and dissonance. Lastly, I'll talk about how they work together and how you can read them effectively. To begin, external psychological cues are by far the most obvious of them all. Hand gestures such as fidgeting, moving your hands a lot, scratching, they're all clear indications of nervousness or anxiety. I'm sure you've seen someone in the class right before a presentation, they're fidgeting, they're looking around, their eyes are wandering. It indicates that they're nervous. Verbal gestures are another type of external cues. They indicate how someone is feeling, what they're thinking, or what they may want or need. These are by far the most easiest because they are the most direct. For example, if someone said, "Oh, I wish I had a ring on this finger," they're telling you that they want to get married. Or if they said, "Oh, I'm tired, I'm mad, I'm sad," anything like that, they are telling you how they feel. And that allows you to understand what they're thinking. The last external cue that I'm going to be going over today is body language. This can indicate nervousness, confidence, and many other emotions. Pacing around, crossing your arms, looking around, moving your head too much. These are all indications that you might be nervous. On the other hand, if you're standing up tall, walking briskly, looking straight ahead, these are all indications of confidence. This goes for many other emotions, like if you are sad, your shoulders might be hanging down. You might be looking at the floor. Like I said, body language is a key external cue that a lot of people can read easily. On the other hand, internal psychological cues are far more complex. According to authors of psychology, internal psychological cues are the intrapersonal processes of self-presentation, cognitive dissonance, and attitude change. Since internal cues are almost impossible to read off of someone, it's better to try understanding your own cues first. For example, if your throat feels dry, you may think that you are thirsty, and that allows you to understand your own interpersonal cues better. Or another example, you have this gut feeling that something is going to go wrong or that someone is going to do something. That is an internal cue. Based off of our own internal cues, we can predict and identify other people's internal cues. Although internal cues are harder to read, they work hand in hand with external cues. Since internal cues directly affect your actions, this changes the external cues that we give out. You can read external cues to determine what or how someone is thinking. If someone is shaking or their voice is unsteady, they're I don't know. This may mean that they are nervous, which is, it may seem pretty obvious. In addition to reading these external cues, you need to be sure to use context or the environment to determine what may trigger their thinking. For example, if you're in class and you're about to give a speech, you're more likely to be nervous than if you're in, let's say, your family's living room and you're just having a normal conversation. You're not going to be as nervous, hopefully not. as you are just before a speech or a presentation. You're going to be far more nervous before a speech than you are talking to your parents or your grandparents. Clearly, reading the external and internal cues of someone can be extremely helpful when in need of understanding what they're thinking. It may not make you psychic, but it sure is close. Thank you.